Well, I played mainly central midfield, but on occasions I played up front or in defence, both at full-back and occasionally even centre-half, even though I'm only a little fella. But largely my career was central midfield.
It's a sort of all-round, really.
Yeah, probably, yeah.
And what about you, Tony?
I did more or less the same, really. I even played up front in my early days with Enfield. But generally, I was a defender, central midfield with Sully a lot of the time, or centre-half, full-back, that kind of position.
What years did you play?
Well, I was at Enfield. I was at Enfield from '73 till 1980, I think, 80, 81, certainly '73. I joined from Slough, and in 1980 I went back to Slough. That's so, me.
Was there a reason for going back to Slough?
Well, there was a reason. There was a new manager coming in at Enfield. He didn't want me, basically, and the manager at Slough was someone I'd worked with a lot, a chap called Laurie Churchill, who was also a very famous Enfield footballer. He had to pack up early, so he went into management and coaching. And Laurie wanted me at Slough. He'd taken over as manager at Slough at the time, and he wanted me at Slough, so I left. I was sold from Enfield to Slough at the end of that season because the new manager, Eddie McCluskey, here didn't want me.
Did that upset you?
Yes, it did, really, yeah. Because I'd been a long time at Enfield. I played a lot of games and had a great time and a lot of success in the non-league field. Having said that, Laurie Churchill was my best friend, has been my best friend for about 30-odd years. He wanted me, and so I was happy to go anyway. But yeah, I didn't really want to leave Enfield. I don't think I probably would have left if they'd wanted me. But Laurie wanted me, and so that was why I went. Why did you tell me to leave at the time you left then, if you wanted to stay, really? I can't remember that time. I can't remember the years I was here, to be honest with you. I was, before Sully, I started playing here when I was 17. So 17, 18, I was here for a couple of years, and then went on to Bishop Stortford. Played there for a year and a half, and then kind of wandered on to different clubs, and then ended up coming back to Enfield and played with Sully. We didn't know each other before then, did we?
No.
No.
That was a really good side at that time. Underachieved, really, but it was a really good side. We did win a lot. Yeah. But we could have won more. Yeah, sure. And we often play together in the centre of midfield. Yeah. So, you know, we've been good buddies ever since.
Yeah. Was there any like rivalry between you?
Well, I think there's always rivalry in a squad. You know, if you've got a squad as we did, we didn't operate with a big squad. We probably had 16, 18 players. And you'd have to say that, and I'm sure Tony will back me up, if you had a bit of an injury, you didn't always let on, because you felt at the time that if you dropped out through injury and someone else played well, you weren't going to get back in. So yeah, there was rivalry for a place in the team, but you know, that was part of the game. That was known to be part of the way it was. It didn't mean you didn't want the team to win, and it didn't mean you didn't want, you know, the guy who stepped into your shoes to do well. But you wanted to play. No, you did want to play, didn't you?
Yeah, I don't think there was any rivalry between us two, because generally in our time here we were kind of first team players. Yeah. And would regularly be in the side, and we weren't competing positions. You know, I would often play alongside Mickey, but I wouldn't normally take the central midfield role, which is generally where he played, isn't it? Yeah, yeah. So not much rivalry between us two, but across the team, it was competition. You know, it was a good side, and there were a good number of players, and they were good. So, you know, you had to do as best as you could. And Sully's right about injuries; you'd carry them and play on.
Yeah. Not always the best thing to do with the benefit of hindsight, but then when you're 25, you're never going to get old.
That's why we're limping all the time now.
Yeah, and you pay later.
Did you have any really bad injuries, sort of tried to play through but you couldn't?
Well, we've all had our injuries, yeah. I mean, I think I broke my nose about 4 times, you probably the same time.
Yeah.
I had my first cartilage operation when I was about 25.
Ooh.
I've had 3 knee operations, and all basically a legacy of football. wrecked ankle, and yeah, a lot of cuts and stitches, and mind you, I dished out a few as well.
How much do you think playing football's changed, like rules in the game?
There are a lot of improvements in the game, but there are a lot of things that, you know, the cheating, the rolling over, the crying out when someone tackles you. In our day, we would have just got back up. You would never show that somebody had hurt you.
No.
You get straight back up if you could.
Yeah.
And I think across all of these age groups that you're interviewing would be about the same.
Yeah, I think the other thing that another lost skill, I think, is heading the ball. I don't think the heading ability of the current players is anything like as good as we were. You know, Tony and I are both pretty good in the air, and I watch players now, and I don't know, don't seem to want to head the ball. It's a forgotten skill. So yeah, there are things that are wrong. I agree with you about the diving. It's ridiculous. They could put a stop to it.
Yeah, they could.
They could put a stop to diving straight away if they said to referees, look, as soon as that guy dives, book him. Does it twice, send him off. I tell you, stop overnight.
And I think, I don't know if Sully agrees, but refereeing standards, they haven't improved at all, unfortunately. The game's got faster, the referees do not seem to have got any better.
No.
And that's something that needs to be done and sorted out.
No, I agree with that.
So what do you think of the club at the time?
At our time at the club, in fact both times, when I came to the club as a youngster, I was playing with people like Roger Day, who taught me a hell of a lot. There were some really good old players. So I kind of saw that era, and then when I came back, there was a new era. And as I said earlier, I thought it was one of the best sides that Enfield's probably ever had, and we should have won more. We did win a lot, but we should have won more, and we just missed a couple of bits. It's very difficult. And watching current football, you know, we both come down and watched the side this year. You know, it's a good side, but there's a couple of things that we think about. You think, well, we'd have probably done it just a spot better, but it was a very good side at that time. So I was privileged to play in it.
Were you upset that the club got knocked down?
It was. I live in Enfield, or I live in a place called Grange Park near to Enfield, and yeah, I mean, I didn't go to see them when they were down in Brimsdown. I really didn't feel that I wanted to. Coming back here, I feel more like home because the stadium was just the other side of the park. So it's good to come back, and I've really enjoyed coming back and watching the games that we've watched over the last couple of years. Yeah,
I think it's nice to see the club at least getting back up on its feet. Because when we all played for Enfield in the 70s, and even before us in the 60s and the early 80s, you know, Enfield were known to be probably, if not the top non-league side in the country, then certainly one of the top non-league sides in the country. And we genuinely were. We really didn't fear anybody when we played. And we had great sides, and when the club was knocked down and sold, I think it was a terrible shame for the town and for the legacy of the club. But I'm very pleased to see that the club has been reformed, and also where the other thing I like about this club is, it seems to me, I think I'm right in saying this, all the directors of the club are ex-supporters of the club. There's no big money man who's come in to make a name for himself, as much as I suppose they could do with the money. The actual club is run by genuine supporters. And whilst I think because of that they'll probably struggle on a financial front in competition with other non-league sides, it's very good to see the enthusiasm generated by the current, you know, collection of directors here. And you know, me and Gibbo would like to see this club thrive. I'm sure all the ex-players would like to see the club thrive. Whether that would take a rich chairman to do it, I don't really know, or whether they can do it off their own bat, I don't know. I wouldn't think that they can. I would personally think they'll struggle to hit the top tiers of non-league football without more injection of more money. But
I think in terms of you know, talking to them, they've got in the old business terms, they've got a vision, and I think it's brilliant. You know, they seem to be working through with the youth. They're getting youngsters in, you know, they're going to have young sides. They've got a young reserve side I was talking earlier to people about. I think the club will be better than it was once upon a time, maybe quite a few years on, but I think they're on the right path.
Yeah.
All the plans sound great.
So, like, who are your biggest rivals?
At that time, I mean, as a local, Barnet has always been a rival, and especially as they achieved league status. Dagenham in our days were the sides. Wickham
Wanderers, yeah. Dagenham, Barnet,
yeah.
as you say. Hendon in their day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was all, there was a lot of local kind of London sides, and but you know, I think in terms of supporters as well as the club, local rivals would be Barnet. They'd probably come up with Barnet.
Yeah. When, like, you know, when you played the teams, like, did you like win or did you lose when you played?
We always won. We never lost, did we?
We certainly
won.
We
lost a few here.
We won more than we lost. Put it that way.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why we won leagues and cups.
Yeah.
So
and generally, I mean, one of my great memories is I'm a Tottenham supporter, you know, as well as being an Enfield supporter. One of my great memories is playing in. There used to be a midweek league, and we used to play against the Premier, as they are now, their reserve side.
Yeah.
One of my great memories is going to Arsenal and beating them in the London Challenge Cup at Highbury. and I think I scored. I scored, but I can't remember. It was just all too much for me. But it was a really good memory. So, you know, there was rivalry even at that level as well.
Yeah.
What was the best goal like you've seen someone score or you've scored yourself?
I curled one in when I was a young 18-year-old. I think we were playing at Walthamstow down here, and I probably hit a cross and it went in the far post. But no, I did try and curl one in, but that's many years ago. And then actually when I played for Dagenham, I came back here and chipped Johnny Jakes, who everyone will remember as a short goalkeeper, short fat goalkeeper.
Yeah. The flying pig.
The flying pig we used to call him, yeah. And I chipped him from the edge of the penalty area, and he'll never forget it.
Sure.
He'll never forget it. I did. Turned on the right foot and chipped it.
God, I can't remember.
I think Waitsy gave me the ball.
Did he?
David Waits, he faffed around a bit and I nicked it off him.
I can't remember my favourite goal, if I'm honest. Let me think.
Sully used to score free kicks galore for us. We had I'd following him. We were talking about this last weekend. We had a free kick, which would basically someone would curl the ball into the penalty area, and it was me and Sully when we were playing together, attacking that middle near post. Yeah. And he was always in front of me, and he always used to score. The only time I managed to get in front of him, I missed. Yeah. So obviously that was a reason. But he scored loads and loads of headers. For a small guy, he got up really well. Yeah, well, it's like I was saying earlier. I think heading's a forgotten skill, a lost skill. And we did get quite a lot of goals from headers in those days. So yeah, probably one of those near post headers would rank. Yeah, but I can't remember a specific one, if I'm honest.
When you were younger, did you ever want to play another game? Like, was it always football? Tennis
I played as well. I wasn't a bad tennis player. I mean, I think most of us are into sport, you know, and I'd be into anything. I'd play anything I could, snooker, you know, tennis, football, the whole lot. So, I'd just play anything. Yeah, I played any sport, but it was always football. Football was always my main number one sport. And it was so easy for us, you know, all you needed was a ball and a park. And, you know, there were always parks where I was and where you were, I'm sure, Sonny. I think when I was a kid as well, you know, I mean, I play squash now. And when I packed up playing football, I took up squash and I really like it. I've played a lot of squash for a lot of years. But when I was a kid, people like me didn't play squash. You know, when I was a kid, you had to go to Eton to play squash. You know, people like me, it was football or nothing, really, in many ways. Although, like you know, you'd get the odd tennis. We'd play all kinds of different sports and I enjoyed them, but football was always the sport, really. Football was it. What was life like for you after you finished playing football? It was fine for me, actually. I was, I mean, I still played football and played a bit of vets football and played on, you know, not serious football, but played on a bit. And it's fine. I kind of I started to focus, and again we were talking about this earlier, but I had to start focusing on a career, you know, and children came along and, you know, they take your focus. So it's their sport really that I've kind of supported for a long while now. And now they're off to uni, that will disappear as well. But yeah, it was fine. I was more than happy to pack up, because at that time we were playing in, you know, the Alliance or whatever it was, travelling around the country. You know, I didn't need that anymore. I was getting too old for it. So, so yeah, I was ready to pack up and happy to do so.
Yeah, I think my experience, most footballers, when you pack up, I packed up at 34, and I'd played a hell of a lot of football, and I wanted to stop. I'd just had enough. I think my body had had enough, and mentally as well I'd had enough. And it's a funny thing, because when I packed up, I don't think I really missed the football, although I did start playing squash, so squash kind of literally took over from football for me. But I didn't miss the football. I missed the crack with the boys more than anything. I honestly did. That was what I missed. It wasn't the football, strangely enough. It was the crack and the kind of laughs that we had and the times we had. We had some great times. And I think I missed that much more than the actual football. I was ready to stop.